Welcome back to Worn Out Racing. I think it is finally time we did it. I think it's time that we threw some boost at one of Fiat's underdogs, the 899 pushrod engine. You heard me. I think it's time we did this. I think if you've been on the channel for long enough, you would have seen maybe a year or two ago, I announced the Super Slug project where I basically took a spare one of these and I bought all of the stuff to supercharge one. I had a Volkswagen supercharger, I had a load of other stuff. And the plan was to build that low budget, low boost engine to go in my Cinquecento at the time, the Slug, my 900cc, absolute fun haver. In the end, I canned the whole idea. The Slug was just too much fun as it was. My turbo project was taking too much time and money really for me to do it. I just didn't want to ruin it. And then eventually, when I got out of Fiat completely and I got rid of everything, I just canned the idea, sold all the stuff, and I never did it again. But I think this engine has been staring at me far too long, and I've got too many bits left on the shelf up there for turbo in a car, and I think it's about time we did it. Now we need to address a couple of things before we go any further. One, I am not starting it in this episode. This is purely me telling you this is going to happen. But two, I don't know what it's going to go in. I'm not sure if it'll go in the Lemon. As I've said before, I think that car probably should stay kind of Trofeo. I think it makes more sense. It kind of suits the car. So at the moment, at least, we're building the engine to go in something. I just don't know what. So that's kind of interesting as well. Secondly, why would you bother, Ben? Well, I've got a couple of reasons. One of them is, if you've noticed, if you look at Cinquecentos for sale like I do far too often, it seems to be most of the ones coming out of the woodwork now that have been sat in drives or garages that have been recommissioned are the 900cc. Not sure why, it just seems to be. They're also generally a bit cheaper than a sporting one. Look it up. Cinquecentos, same. Actually, there's quite a lot of sporting Cinquecentos around, and the non-sporting 1.1s, maybe not as easy, but again, I still see quite a lot of them kicking around. No one's doing a lot with them. And the third, and probably the most important thing I will say, is these things run really low compression. Yep, that's probably the reason these things don't make all that much power. They really run really low compression on it. Now the one in the Lemon, that one's had the actual block and the head skim to bring the compression up quite a lot more. That's why it makes a decent amount more power, obviously with the cam and stuff as well. But these are running really, really under stressed, and I think it can take a decent amount. I mean, it's a solid closed deck block. It's a steel actual engine block itself. There's not a lot in there that's going to break. So I think these things will respond really, really well to some decent amount of boost. What kind of power are we hoping for? Damn good question. I mean, if you take it, these make 40 horsepower. I think the Slug made 47 on the Rolling Roller, did it before. So it's going to be around 40. I think the lower boost Van Aken turbo engines in the 1.1s used to double the power. Used to go from 54 to 110 on the higher boost setting. I'm not saying I'm going to get double the power out of this, but I think if I could make 80 horsepower of this little 900cc, that would be a riot. I think it'll sound wicked, I think it'll run really well, and I think it will do the job. Now, you may have found the channel previously when I actually did the how to turbo convert your car. I did all the different engine options, different gearbox options, engine control, and the one thing I will say is you can't just strap a turbo onto this thing and expect it to deal with it. So the main thing we're going to be covering and have to deal with is going to be engine management. We're not going standalone ECU. We're not even going as smart as getting like a piggyback ECU. We are going ultra, super basic. And I'm going to be showing you the even more cheap, even more simple version of the Van Aken control. I will take you into fine detail as we do it, but it is dead easy. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And as long as you work right with it, it will work really well. I've been speaking to my man Rory, who ran this exact setup on his car for about 4 years, I think. He was not kind to it in his own words. He blew about 3 diffs up, engine didn't miss a beat. Just run a little bit on the rich side and you are good to go. Now, I can't tell you exactly when we're going to be starting this because this engine is actually missing quite a lot of stuff. It's got a load of bolts missing off the rocker, not really sure why. Obviously it doesn't have a throttle body. It's got a couple of sensors missing, coolant temp, oil pressure switch, sorry. It's even got a manifold missing. So I've got some work to do. I think I've tracked down most of that stuff. I've got the flywheel and the clutch already. My man Vinny's got a stock gearbox because it's no good putting this on a lower ratio one because it'd just be rubbish. I think I've got a manifold sorted. I've definitely got a throttle body coming on the way. And in there is a whole host of goodies to help get this thing ready for boost. Keep an eye out. It'll be coming soon, hopefully, and I'll start covering this. I think it's going to be an exciting project. In the meantime, I'm going to look for cars to put it in, see what comes up. I'm not promising anything. I think it'd be silly to do so. Now, before we end this episode, I was a little bit surprised, to an extent, with the positive feedback I got from people wanting to see stuff on my Mark 1 VRS. So I figured you may as well get to see the turmoil that I went through for your own personal enjoyment. I'm going to stick some videos at the end. I promise, not so much of me talking and hopefully me showing you a little bit more. Didn't go into massive amounts of detail because it was a horrible job, but either way, it is coming along nicely. So I'm going to jump to me in the past, and you can see the plight of me trying to tackle bolts that haven't been undone since 2004. Enjoy. I'll be honest with you, I've kind of been diving into it over the last few days with all the rain. It hasn't gone well. No, it hasn't gone well. So I did the passenger side, that was all okay. I've jumped onto the driver's side and it's kind of gone downhill from there. Oh god, so I couldn't get the shock out for whatever reason. Read the manual and they said there's a couple more bolts that you can take off if you need a little extra space to slide the actual sort of shock body out. Tried to undo those bolts, snapped one. Instantly meant I had to get a new lower arm, which I've got down here. So it's also got new arms on it as well, so it's going to drive like an absolute peach. Came to take the ball joint off and the ball joint was just spinning. Normally they'll at least turn, and you can get mole grips on them if you have to on the actual kind of like the bolt part of it, so you can undo it. So I haven't done of it. So I've just had to bust out the old reciprocating saw, or sawzall if you're American, to cut it off. So I'm just going to quickly show you where we're at with it, but we are getting close. So this is the state that is my car at the moment. So we've got to the point of having to cut the ball joint off the bottom, because this is one of the bolts that I snapped, trying to get this bracket off, so I didn't have to do this. And I've got this bolt as well, and I think this bush is actually really worn out anyway, so I think this is probably only for the best. As you can tell, I think these have been on the car since the car was born, so it's definitely not a bad idea. So I know I just need to move the jacks around and stuff and get it so I can get this last bolt off. And then we can put these on. And one thing you will notice is not only do these have nice new bushes in, but it comes with a brand new ball joint. So I mean, it's never going to have handled better. Right, decided to bust out the big jack. So with these bolts, I mean, these are really high grade bolts usually, so you don't normally get a problem with it, but don't be afraid to sort of undo it a bit, back it back in, undo it a bit if it starts getting a bit of resistance, because the last thing you want to do is be snapping one of these off. Now, I will be getting in here with the lanyard guard and stuff at some point. This is the only bit of the car that's a little bit scabby. Got it out. I think it's safe to say that one is pretty cooked. So, you know, I'm kind of glad that we're getting this one on there anyway. Oh, I cannot begin to express to you what a horrible job that was. Basically, the whole side of that's just hanging off now. I've had to take off pretty much everything. But I've got the lower arm off now, the shock off. I've got the brand new top mount, so I'm going to stick it in the new tool, clamp it down, put the new top mount on. Then I'm going to put the strut back in first, so that I can then push the lower arm, sort of like the hub assembly, up onto the bottom of the strut. Then we'll put the lower arm back in, and then we'll put it back down. Let this be a lesson for you. As much as more modern cars are kind of cool, although this is a 2004, so it's not modern really. Old stuff, old simple stuff, and even stuff from 2004 that's more simple, it's just so nice to work on. Like, I would never have had this problem doing this on a small Fiat, ever. Just so you know what I'm working with here, this sleeve here has to go in this housing here, whilst also juggling it all, because at the moment I've got it propped up on a hammer and the axle stand down in there and stuff, because obviously it's all trying to fall apart. And this is what I had the problem with. This won't go high enough, or this won't go low enough for this to go in there. I don't know why on this side specifically it's not doing it. The other side was actually fine. I don't know if the drive shaft locking up on there or something, and normally it would go lower, but it has not gone to plan. Right, I can't even begin to explain how I managed to get this shock in the end. It seems like a weird combination of having the wheels turned in, you put in the drive shaft right over so it can kind of fit down a slot, tipping it down, out and around. It's horrible. I honestly don't know why they designed it like this, but either way, it's now in. I just got to button up the top mount in a minute, but now we have to hope that this plays ball, because if this goes on, it's on the home stretch then. A couple of bolts, one bolt on the bottom, do the brake pads, and this side is done at long last. There you have it. My previously tidy garage is now an absolute bomb site, and I am knackered, but in the end, the bottom arm wasn't actually too bad. There's a lot of finessing, sort of jacking this up so you can get this as level as possible. A little bit of a mallet in either side, screwdriver to kind of find the holes, and then it was done. So really, just a couple of little things to button up, make sure I haven't forgotten to tighten anything. I'm doing the brake pads just purely because I snapped the connector off the other side, like I said, so I may as well do both sets anyway. So I'm going to do these, tighten up the top mount, and then I have to decide then, do I feel like doing the left-hand side straight away to do the bottom arm, because I've already done the shock, or do I leave it? Knowing full well I won't do it, and it won't handle very well, because obviously this side's going to be all fresh and that side's going to be all woolly, so chances are I'll just jump straight into it. Now you may be thinking, I wish he sounded a little bit more enthusiastic in this video, but I apologise. That's as enthusiastic as I'm going to get with this, because that has easily just been such a traumatising situation. So I'm going to go grab me some kind of caffeinated drink. I'm going to come back, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Now, while we're here, it wouldn't make a lot of sense after staring at that crusty old subframe for this whole time to chuck a little bit of Lanagard on here. So I've put the wheel back on, I've just turned it out. I'm going to spray a load of this in there just to keep the old boy looking a little bit better. And I'll be honest, a lot of this then will go on to the bolts and stuff that caused me so much trouble this time. In theory, stopping it being a problem in another 139,000 miles when I have to do them again. So on and so forth. Right, that's all done. Now I'm walking around my garage and I've had a chance to tidy up, kind of recoup a little bit, have a little bit of food. I'm not gonna lie, it feels pretty good to have done it. Now, at no point while I was doing that did I enjoy it. Not really. It's not really one of those kind of jobs you enjoy. I've got friends that kind of enjoy that kind of stuff. I didn't enjoy it at all, especially because it really didn't go to plan, as I've probably said numerous times. But actually, knowing that I've saved myself hundreds of pounds, and I know the car way better than I ever did, if I ever had to do anything on the front suspension again, I think I'd be able to do it pretty easy. Obviously, I've still got to do the arm on the other side. You don't need to know about that. That would just be a repeat of everything I've already done. But all in all, I started it up, just made sure I went down the road, all the brake pads and everything were all seated properly, made sure I hadn't messed anything up. Came back, made sure there's no knocks. And even just that little drive, it definitely feels a lot like firmer, a little bit more together on the front, less creaks and stuff like that. And that's with one arm still not actually being done. I'm pretty certain that's the one that's the most worn out as well. So all good things. All good things. And now I need to get it for an MOT because stupidly, I didn't realise the MOT had ran out 3 weeks ago. But thankfully, it's been sat here being fixed anyway, so it's not the end of the world. So I think I'm just going to go to like ATS Euromaster, something like that. Dead easy to get it down to them, get it booked in, get it to see if it passes first. Then I'll get on and do the back shocks and the other arm, just so I don't cause myself any problems because I really need another car. And that's pretty much going to be it. The VRS then is going to be up together for the time being. I'm actually looking at getting a quad lock phone case holder for my car because again I would love to start doing some more like driving videos and some better stuff for me talking, all that kind of things. So hopefully that'll be coming soon. So I would like to take you out for a spin in that and take you for a proper blast in the lemon since it's actually started running properly. I don't think I've actually done a full driving video with that car where I just do a couple of minutes off down some good country lanes, little mic somewhere so you can hear what it sounds like. Especially at the minute because after the huge amount of rain we've had, and I knew I was going to have to go through some really flooded areas at one point, I actually took the Dexcraft kit off it. I went into full snorkel mode, so having it going down into the front bumper, there was just nothing straight out of the engine bay, and it sounds evil, absolutely evil like that. I'm not going to drive around in it very much like it, but it's fine at the moment. It's damp weather. There's not going to be a lot of dust in that flying around. It's fine. And that's where we're going to leave it off for this episode. Wish me luck tracking down parts for the 899 Turbo project. I will come up with something a bit more interesting than that. But otherwise, thank you for the feedback on the last video, the last couple of videos actually. Don't forget to subscribe if you feel like it. And I will see you in the not so distant future. And for any of you crazy enough to have stayed around this long, give me some suggestions what I should put in these last two Hot Wheel spaces. This one here. Because I feel like it needs filling.